Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 64. You blockhead. Recorded live Sunday, October 22nd, 2023. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the host, and the host with the most, and the editor-in-chief over at iTechGear.org. Joining us today, oh my goodness,
I'm pulling the football away from you.
Thank you. The options are all over the place. And of course, that wonderful voice, former contributing editor over at Gear Diary and Pocket Now, Mr. Chris Gavula. How are you, sir?
Just sitting here with my dulcet tones.
You're
dulcet.
Thank you.
Okay.
Honest to God. Yeah, that oh my goodness voice there, former contributing writer over at Gear Diary and currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show and Living in the Retro Arcade podcast, Brother Joe McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well and all full of pumpkin stuff because the Circleville Pumpkin Show has had its 2023 edition and
awesome.
All that stuff, and I was on vacation all week, so I am ready to go for work on Monday. But doing very well.
You want to take over my work?
I was just going to say,
no, thank you.
Happy to give it to you.
Yeah, I'm going to have enough anyway when I get back, but
sure.
Hey, there you go. And last but certainly never, ever least, former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I am absolutely great. And I was sitting here thinking during the pre-show, what a great idea. Someday we should record one of our pre-shows because our growing listener base has absolutely no idea how we get the titles to the show and the crap that goes on before the show. It's I enjoy the pre-show almost as much as the show. Almost.
Absolutely. I don't have any problem creating a premium product for those that want to pay for the show. Absolutely.
Oh, dear.
Hey, every day, all day, every day, I am thinking of the ways. All right.
Okay.
Which everybody went ahead and just unsubscribed now, including my mom. So I know.
Well, then you've achieved the goal.
The ways Chris doesn't have to do work for a corporate overlord.
Yeah. We'll see how that works. But Anyway.
Yeah.
Hey, did you guys hear about the recent speaking of iPhones crashing? Did you guys ever
were we speaking about iPhones crashing? Wow.
Did you guys hear about the thing with the Flipper Zero? It makes iPhones crash.
Yes. Well, to a point, yeah. It looks like any phone running iOS 17, although I think they said it wasn't affecting one of the phones. I can't remember which one. But basically, the Flipper Zero, if you're unfamiliar with it, it's $169 multi-tool device for geeks is what they call it. All right, but it can do things like hack TVs, so like you can basically have it act like the remote for the TV. You can have it open gates for like your parking garage, or clone your hotel room key and vice, and all sorts of nifty little things. It can also be used as a way to collect data via the USB port on a computer.
Well, isn't that all special?
Yeah. It's a useful tool that pen testers can use. Totally legal. Although I will say Amazon will not allow it for sale on their website because it can also be used to skim credit cards.
And for folks who don't know,
the RF thing.
For folks who don't know, pen testing is short for penetration testing. It helps helps people test whether networks are solid and secure and things like that.
Right. There are specific security testers out there, or security testing firms out there that many companies will hire for. I dare you. It's more like an I dare you, but I'm going to pay you for it. Right.
That's right.
Penetrate my network, or try to penetrate my network, try to hack me, and then give me a report back that says these are the vulnerabilities that we found. This is how we got in, or the somewhere in between, or the exact opposite. We
Right.
tried and we failed, and
and this happens to be one of those tools in that arsenal.
Exactly.
Correct, and it's and like any of these tools that can be used for pen testing can be used by nefarious folks. Like, for example,
absolutely,
Kali OS has I'm trying to remember what's the name of the Rapid Sevens tool, that because they own it. I'm trying to remember the name of the tool.
Right, but Kali OS is probably one of the most effective. It's actually a distribution of Linux that's specifically designed with hacking tools for penetration testers and legal penetration testers, security testing firms to use to attack networks.
Absolutely,
and they get paid for it. So, yeah,
just like this can be used for that as well. But
so in this case, what's the hack in this case? What's going on here?
So what they're doing here is there is a BLE spam app, a Bluetooth Low Energy spam app that basically spams the Bluetooth receiver on your iPhone with Bluetooth traffic, and then it will eventually if you see the one picture, you'll get a little pop-up on about wireless audio sync or something like that, and then not soon after that, it actually crashes the iPhone.
Is it creating a denial of service?
Basically, yes, Bluetooth denial of service. Yep. So
and then your phone is vulnerable to some sort of attack or some kind of
well, I don't know if they've proven that yet. I mean, it's probably the start of something like that.
Sure. Yeah.
Granted, I guarantee you Apple will have this patched very soon.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be quick about this, because it is a thing to do.
It definitely is a thing.
Yes. And Apple has been very good about that. So yeah.
Right now, and this is actually comes to good thing. So some security folks would probably have you have Bluetooth turned off all the time. But that's really the fix for this, is have your Bluetooth turned off, and then it won't happen. But granted, you don't know, because this little Flipper Zero is a very small handheld thing. It's not like it doesn't have to be attached to a computer. It essentially is a computer itself, very similar to the Raspberry Pi. In fact, you can build similar devices with a Raspberry Pi, but this one just is in a nice, easy to use package.
What does that thing cost, Joe?
$169
is that it?
How much I was going to say it's like $170.
Yeah. They also have a Wi-Fi board that you can plug into it as well, which is $30, and basically you can do things like if you've ever heard of the Wi-Fi Pineapple, the Wi-Fi Pineapple will basically steal data coming over a Wi-Fi port, but basically being a man in the middle. And I'm sure I'm greatly simplifying it, but that was sold by the folks who do the Hack 5 video show. It used to be over on Revision 3 before they kind of went independent when Revision 3 went belly up. But so that is something to watch out for. In the device, as for the device itself, I do want one, just because I think it would be great for me to test my own things, like, because there's certain things, and this, we had in the pre-show we had a conversation about using like an older there was a BlackBerry that had Android on it, which, by the way, folks, there's no more updates coming for that thing, so no security updates are hitting that. So if you have an old Android device, don't use it. But you talk about that, Android's being used a lot in an embedded things, like, for example, my security system is essentially an Android tablet that's attached to a wall downstairs. And if I remember right, I looked, and it's probably like Android 9, maybe 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's really far behind. So,
right. So apparently, using this device, all right, in concert with the BLE spam app, you can initiate an array of pairing attacks that are more spammy than causing crashes, but are still annoying to the iPhone user.
Yep.
And like you said earlier, there's really only one way to protect yourself from this, and that is to turn Bluetooth off.
All
right. Now, from a is that something that you're going to need to have happen, sort of perspective? If you've got a smartwatch, you're not going to be able to have your watch connected to your phone. If you've got headphones, wireless headphones, since Apple, was kind enough to take the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack away from us a couple of years ago, there's no headphones for you. There's no CarPlay for you. There's really no connectivity at all. Your phone is effectively just your phone, all right.
And we all have to.
While the Bluetooth is off.
We have to remember when Bluetooth came out as a protocol, as a technology. I mean, the idea was that everything was local. It was just a cable replacement. It wasn't meant to be. It wasn't expected that everybody would have.
It wasn't high security at all.
Right. And you didn't think you'd need to, because you were just going to be near your computer, right? You weren't going to be very far from it. What did you need to protect yourself from? But come on, guys, we all understand the reality of it, and and what it's happened.
Changed.
Right.
So is it Apple's fault?
No,
not really.
No,
not really. They're leveraging. They just have to figure out
something that
workarounds.
happened. This is just something that came about because the communications protocol is out there. All right.
And but if it wasn't affecting earlier iPhones, then they're doing something different with how they're handling Bluetooth now, and maybe that was to handle newer features in Bluetooth. I don't know. Whatever it might be. They do need to have
Bluetooth low energy. You've got
Right. They need to work around is what they need.
Now, the upside is
to plug the hole.
Is if you haven't upgraded to iOS 17, you're not affected. iOS 16 doesn't have the issue.
Yeah.
So there was a regression. It had to have been a regression somewhere.
I think
in
so.
the code. And and by the way, this isn't with the stock firmware that you run on the Flipper Zero. It's using the extreme third-party firmware, which you do have to have some knowledge to load that onto the device. So it's not like somebody like the kid down the street is going to be crashing your iPhone.
I don't know. Sometimes the kid down the street's smarter than us. So
true.
Sometimes...
True. But Joel's point is that there isn't going to be some little shithead running down the street
He's the guy I want off
zapping the button, past every house. Right.
Yeah, pretty much. And even if he was, you probably wouldn't affect your iPhone that far away.
Probably not.
iPhones do have a. I mean, that's iPhones. Bluetooth does have a distance limit.
They'd have to be within about 50 feet of you.
About 10 feet. About 10 feet.
Yeah.
So
it's right. It's somewhere in that ballpark. It starts to go fade. And if everybody doubts that, try walking away from your, try being on a Zoom meeting with your Bluetooth headphones and walk away from the PC. See how far you get before they stop working. So that's going to be your limit.
Yes. Right. Yes. So you've got a workaround, turn it off. You've got a proximity perimeter sort of alert, if you will. Somebody, you're going to, anybody that's within that, in that 10 to 30 feet or so range is going to be a candidate if you're experiencing something like this. But that it'll get patched. I might
turn my Bluetooth off at the airport or something, that kind of thing. If I could, I might do it like that or something.
And I will say this too. What iOS 17.1 is supposed to be released next week, I think. So
yeah, I don't know if the fix will be in that one or not, but
correct.
Because they're already in beta cycle, and they were when this kind of heads up came out. So hard to know. Yep. But that
they'll definitely do this. Well, honestly, they'll definitely do this, because if they can do that, then the next thing is how to use this as an exploit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, and that's But even if I don't trust them to have knocked it off and plugged the hole anyway, at least
not yet.
Close to, no. Well, that because their QA people don't know how to test. Hire me. I will teach you how to test. Never mind.
Right.
Then you can work for a new. You can work for a new corporate overlord.
Thank you, dear Tim. Yeah. So, but speaking of corporate overlords, did you know that there's supposed to be a folding iPad coming out in 2024 next year or the year after 2025?
Maybe.
I do.
Well,
Larry,
well, according to the good folks over at our friends 9 to 5 Mac,
yes,
we could get a foldable iPad sometime in 2024 or 2025. I'd guess 2025 if I was guessing, but And I'm sure I'm going to induce a little good-natured banter when I talk about this briefly. But before you guys jump up and down and do the woohoo dance and tell me why it's such a great thing, hear me out. I have enough trouble holding an iPad for long periods of time because I personally, maybe not you, but I don't like to sit with my head bent down looking at something, that I'm holding. So I did a little experiment. I went out, actually did this yesterday, went out in the garage, found some cardboard, and I made two mock-ups. One, both of them were of a 10.9-inch iPad, full size with the bezels and everything. I made two of them, one that folded each way. So I know I'm going to hear a counterpoint eventually on this, but I simply do not see a use case for this device on my lap. I don't see a use case for it on a table unless somebody invents some magical stand that lets it be used, like maybe the Lenovo Yoga Book thing. But what in the name of technology are you going to use this for? I get it with a phone. My checkbook is out. My money's waiting. But but all this said, I know if Apple does launch this puppy, you can bet there's a market for it.
Oh, so I think there's a couple questions here. First of all, is because the rumors I heard these rumors a few months ago. I heard them repop up recently.
Yeah, they came out in July.
Yeah, we've heard this a couple of times come up. And so one of the questions would be, okay, first of all, what size would it really be? That's important.
Yeah, we don't know. I'm just saying
because the bigger it is, the more I agree with you, Larry, the bigger it is, right? Because it gets to a certain point, it's unwieldy. Now, I own a 12.9-inch one, and I use it because it's the same size as a sheet of paper. So when I'm reading it, I can treat it as a document. So I do sit there and hold it, and I use it for that. So something that would be that size would be fine, or something that's that size but folded, opening up to that size would be okay too, because I would just treat it as a book.
Well, yeah. Now my comments don't include that. If you fold it up as a 12, the size of your iPad Pro, fold that, I'm okay. But
yeah, now if you're talking about something that's
the size of the iPad, I don't get that.
I would agree. If you're talking about when we talk about a standard iPad, we're talking about like the 10 or 11-inch iPads, right? And if you were to double that becomes really large, and that does become really, I think, really unwieldy and heavy and all that. Once you get to that size, unless you're one of those people, and there are people, more and more of them, strangely enough, that use your iPad as a computer replacement.
Oh, they do, yeah.
If you do, then there's almost a use case here. If you don't,
but you got to have a stand and a keyboard.
But if you're using it as a computer replacement, you're probably doing that already. You probably already have a stand and a mouse and a keyboard.
Yeah, the magic keyboard is what you probably have.
Yeah,
but
of course you do.
So if that's the case, then I could see it. But you're right. In general, just sitting there, if you're just sitting there holding it and whatnot, I would agree with you. I think it gets a little too bulky. But here's what I think might be happening. If in fact they're doing this, I think that if I was Apple, I would be doing it to test, first of all, to test the waters on folding devices. And because it's a lower volume product than the iPhone, it's a safer place to test, I think, in a lot of ways. And I think that would be I think that's the thought for getting into the notion of foldables. They can then learn a lot about durability in that kind of testing.
Sure.
At a much lower risk to them. So if they were going to go there, I could see why they would do an iPad before they do an iPhone. I could see that. But again, it's a getting into the waters thing. It's not a, gee, is this really where foldables ought to be? It's more of a trying things out kind of thing.
Right, because let's take a look at this. All right, you've got two foldable models or paradigms in terms of iPhones. All right, you've got the flip style, the Samsung flip style,
Motorola flip, I gotcha.
Motorola flip, Motorola Razor, right? That sort of clamshell kind of thing. Or you've got the Samsung Fold, right? Where it folds long ways and out into a tablet. All right, so you've got effectively 3 screens as opposed to 2, right? Or no, take that back. You've got 3 surfaces as opposed to 2, and you've got really just 2 screens, right? A small sort of skinny one on the outside, and then the larger big one on the inside when you unfold.
Or you have a normal size one, and if you have like a Pixel Fold or one of the other folds.
Right. So how would you do it? Would you in fact have something, more like the Duo? Would you have or the Pixel Fold, which is 2 screens? Is it not 2 screens on the Pixel Fold?
Yeah, it's 2. It's one outside, one bigger, one inside. Yeah.
All right. So the Pixel Fold is more like the Samsung Fold.
It's the same as the Samsung Fold,
bendable. It's a bendable
just
screen.
not tall.
It's
Yeah.
not like the Duo,
Yep.
right? Or
Yep.
the Neo,
Yep.
right?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So great. So you've got a couple different paradigms here where you've got two screens, right? And they're all on the inside. You've got two screens where you've got one skinny one on the outside and one larger unfoldable one on the inside. Or you've got like a small little clamshell device like the Samsung Flip or the Motorola Razr Plus, right? Something like that, right? I haven't seen anything out there that really says, hey, Apple's going to target this type of foldable.
No,
Apple's going to go after this type of
Me
model.
neither.
All right. From a folding iPad, it's really more the, I'm going to say the perhaps the Duo sort of layout where maybe you've got two separate screens. All right. Because regardless of what goes on, Apple is not, until the technology exists where there is no crease.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Right. Until we get to a point where there is no crease or bump or dip or ridge or whatever in the display, I don't see Apple coming out with any kind of foldable display. And I really see them doing this all at once. All right. In other words, they're going to release a foldable iPhone and a foldable iPad at the same time and go, ta-da, we have done it. We've cracked it. We have got the thing. And there's no crease. Look at that, kids. No crease.
Right.
And bend it 900,000 times and there still won't be a crease.
And there still isn't a crease. Until that happens, Apple's not going to do it. If they're if they're that close to it all right, if they're that close to this technology, then I mean you're really talking about, like a release candidate, if you will, if you were to go after it in software. That's where they are right now. All right. If they're going to release in 2024, whether it's Q3 or Q4 2023, or I'm sorry, 2024, or sometime in 2025. All right. They have to be real close with that technology. And they're probably nobody going to find this one on a bar stool anyway.
Now we've talked about these, but we've talked about these kinds of things before. My guess would be that they're certainly playing around with these different form factors in house, whether or not the crease is there or not. They're going to play with the form factors, right? Because because they need to figure out what their interface is going to look like or not going to look like, what they're going to do and not going to do,
from a software perspective. How is it all going to work and come together?
So I'm sure they're already working on that, and I'm sure they have these things in house, and probably somebody sees them in house and they go, "Oh, look, Apple's working on a foldable, Now there's a news story." I'm sure it's something idiotic like that, because I agree with you guys, and that's why I say if they were going to try it and they weren't quite there, then maybe they would try it with an iPad first and a limited kind of scope. But I just don't see them being that close to it, because there's people that argue that some of these phones that are available over in China that have virtually no crease now, but that's not really true either. You know what I'm saying? It is and it isn't. It's still a crease. It's still there. It still shows up more over time. It may be
minimized or barely noticeable, but it's still there.
Because basically the hinge pushes it out or whatnot. But the point is, the materials used to do these foldables is all the same. There isn't a different material yet. So as long as
somebody's making it for them,
right. So as long as those materials are what we've got, we're going to have this, and so.
But in something like the Duo, then they can go back to real Gorilla Glass and not worry about it. But
and let's not forget though that was what the Duo was, and I still think the Duo is a phenomenally good device that was very misunderstood in a lot of ways. But had Microsoft gone ahead and released Windows X and released their Neo. We could be looking at a very interesting thing, because we would have been down a different path that people hadn't tried yet. And so maybe Apple's going to try something like that, something that's like their version of the Neo. I don't know.
I want to find the landfill. I want to go find the landfill.
Oh, me too.
Because I'd love those devices, honest to God.
I would love to have one to play with. I would absolutely love that.
Yes. But I don't know.
So I get it. So the point is, Could they be working on something? Are they working on something? I'm sure they are. I'm absolutely certain they
Oh,
are.
they've been working on something since Samsung, probably
Yeah.
since Samsung announced the foldable screen technology.
Maybe even
back in
before,
the
maybe
day.
even before that, you know, because again, we were talking about Neo and Duo before that even.
Right.
And so it could well be, you know, they were looking into this multi-screen, you know,
Something or other. Yeah.
something to that effect, right?
Sure.
So I'm excited, you know, to know that something will eventually come out of this. I don't
I
know what
agree.
it's going to be. Do I think it's going to be next year? Probably not.
Agree.
I'm
Right.
with Larry. At earliest, we look at 2025 maybe, but I still don't think.
Right.
I don't think these pieces, unless again, it seems to me if there was a breakthrough in that kind of technologies.
Oh,
I'm not
they'd
talking
be
about
sitting on it. They'd
well,
sit on it until they were ready to go.
but we would
Yep.
hear something on the side, you know, because at one of these shows, somebody would have been showing the latest and greatest folder. You know, the folding, not talking about an end,
Apple,
not
not
talking about an
necessarily
end,
Apple,
not an
but
Apple or a Samsung or
right.
anything
No,
like
I
that, but
get
maybe
you.
the manufacturer of these
Right.
products would be showing at a trade show somewhere. We'd
Right.
be coming up, and I haven't heard anything, you know, exciting in that sense. The closest we saw was some of those rolling technologies last year.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think rolling is where anybody's going in reality. I think that's just an interesting notion. You know, again, I could be wrong. I've been proven wrong before, but I
Sure.
don't think so. I don't think the rolling technology is
Don't
consumer
know.
friendly at this point.
Don't know.
But you're right, you don't know, and I think
Nope.
that's where we are with all of this.
Mhm.
And maybe it's some form of rolling technology that gets us past the crease issue. Maybe.
Maybe. Don't
You
know.
know,
You know,
don't know.
I'll tell you what I do know. You know
What
what
do
I
you
know?
know?
I
What do
do
you
know
know?
that that this year's round of Apple Watches, the hardware in and of itself, or these models, these releases, they're suffering from bugs, and I've bumped into a couple of oddities myself with the Ultra 2, but I
So is
find
it particular
it a little.
models or is it in the software release?
See,
Because
and that's
I've
what I
got it.
don't
I haven't
know.
had it.
That's what I don't know. All right. That's what I don't know. I
Hmm.
do know, and I do think that this is it's definitely model related. I've noticed that my Ultra 2 will go into night mode, that nice dark red sort of display, dark red on black. And it takes a lot for it to come out of that. All right. It may go into it early. It's all driven by the ambient light sensor. All right.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that it goes into that appropriately, but coming out of it, it takes a little bit, even though I'm standing in a room that's very well lit. All right. Or even you know, going outside may not be the sunniest day in the world, but it should.
Is that a known bug? Is that one of the
I
stated
don't
bugs?
know, but this is what I've seen. This is personally what
Okay.
I've seen. All right. It doesn't come out of it. It doesn't come out of that mode very well or very quickly. And I find it exceptionally annoying.
Mine seems to, but I get it. I get what you're saying.
You know, but you don't have a 2 though. All right. You've got
and that's why I asked the initial question. Is it a software bug in the Watch OS 10, or is it a problem with the hardware in the sensors?
I think it might be both. I think it's a software bug related to that particular ambient light sensor in the Ultra 2. I could be wrong.
I mean, mine does take a good, I'm going to say 10 or 15 seconds to switch in either case when the state of the environment changes, as it were.
Right.
But it does switch. And at first I thought there was, I'll be honest with you, I'm not crazy about this automatic switching. I liked it better when I had a manual button to hit. You know, I liked that, or that, excuse me, not the button, but the crown, and being able to turn the crown and say, hey, I want you to be in this mode or that mode. I liked that better.
Do that. It does that on mine. I can
No,
still do that.
No, if I spin the crown on mine, it changes the cards.
Okay. I know that there's a point where I can.
I haven't found a place to do that, because if I turn the crown on mine, if I'm looking at like, for example, the Wayfinder watch face, which is the one you're talking about, that's the one that goes red.
Right.
And I'm looking at that watch face, and there's another one that goes red now too.
Right.
The new one. I forget what the new one's called.
Right.
But anyway, either of those watch faces do it. If I'm looking at it and I spin the crown, it moves my stack of cards. My cards come up and it starts moving. I don't see any way to change that Now, maybe I'm missing they're an option or a choice. Maybe there's a choice I have to turn on or toggle somewhere. Maybe I have to hit the button and toggle it. I don't know, but it doesn't come on. It doesn't do that by default.
Right. According to the ZDNet article that we are citing in our show notes, there's a screen flickering issue in both the Apple Watch 9 and the Watch Ultra 2. And there's also a pink complication bug where complications on the watch will actually turn pink.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those on mine.
I haven't seen that.
I'm an Ultra One,
right.
but I am running the Watch OS 10.
Right.
So
there's also an area, a bug where complications go completely blank.
Wow. Have you had any of those?
I haven't had any of these three. I have seen some poor battery life. Where it doesn't last as long as I would expect it to. I mean, it'll last about 24 hours and then maybe not so much. I will tell you that as I have exercised the battery a little more, it's gotten better.
I'm going to say that under OS 10, Watch OS 10, I don't think my battery life is as good as it used to be on my Ultra One. I mean, I don't think it's horrible, but it's not as good as it was.
Well, I think that it definitely needs a little bit of code optimization love.
I think so. I think this whole card stack thing takes up more power than they thought.
I think you may be right.
Because you got to basically keep these apps running, right, in the background.
Right.
They're displaying those cards.
Right.
And I think that has something to do with what we're seeing. But
not to change the subject, but to inject one thing that I've noticed, I think this round of products or software that came out this fall, for me anyway, has a whole bunch of bugs in it. I have found 4 major bugs in Sonoma. 2 of them bad enough that I went to the trouble to report them to Apple, whether they listen to me or not. But and most of them are surrounded. They're in photos and editing, where you'll be editing a photo and you'll close your editor, whatever it is, be it Apple's or someone else's, and the photos are still on your desktop, pieces of them, chunks, and you move your mouse over them and they go away.
Seen that one.
I haven't seen that one. Stuff.
I will say that this iOS flavor was actually one of the smoother runs to iOS 17
I just
that I've
think
seen.
Overall, I think Apple's getting a little bit lackadaisical in their QA.
I'm going to agree with
you. That I think their release cycles are rushed.
I think so too. I was just going to say that
their release cycles are rushed, and
they're driven by earnings calls. That's the problem.
Yes, right. And here's the problem that we bump into, being the QA guy that I am. All right. It's always there's one place where we always pull time from. If if we want to make certain that we meet the date and development is taking long, what happens? We reduce testing time. We don't push the date, we reduce testing time.
Yep.
Right.
All right. If in 9 times, and I would think that if Apple is having issues or problems with specific features that aren't working right, you would think that they would descope the project a little bit and then pull those features out. Sometimes you can do that. Sometimes you can't do that.
Well, and people forget these devices over time and these software have gotten more and more and more complex with more and more layers. And yet our cycle still remains a year or whatever it's been. Our cycles haven't been extending. So debugging is going to take longer in a more complex environment. And the interactions, you can't predict all of the interactions sometimes. And I run into this in my daily job where people are like, well, why didn't you test for that? And then you have to go,
you understand how limited? Know to test for that?
Don't you understand?
That is out in deep roving. That edge case is
right. It's an edge case, and nobody would think to do that. And it's a very small fraction of people. You can't. Yeah, exactly. So the point is, I think we're running into more and more that with this stuff as well. There's more and more complexities, and people are just. I think the cycles haven't shortened. I haven't lengthened. So we're running into challenges, and I think we see this across the board. It's not purely an Apple thing, but I have to say, based on what you in agreement with what you guys have said, I think this last round of stuff, hardware and software, have been less
I don't want to say
solid
that they
than I
feel
would like.
rushed.
No,
I don't
but they're
want to say
not.
that
They're
they
less
feel
solid
rushed,
than
but
I would like to have seen. You know, I'll say it that way.
Well,
so
to
you
your
know,
point, Chris, when you said that the cycle's, still the same and the products are more complex, I agree with that. But 15 years ago, when Apple launched something, that's it. It just worked. That was it.
but
End
the
of
product wasn't
problem.
as complex as it is
Right.
now.
no, it was not as complex. And to be very, very honest, they hadn't been at it that long. So there really wasn't much to A, compare it to, or
Right.
B, to
I
regression
mean, they
test.
had fewer problems. They
Well,
sure
and
Right.
I'm not sure
problems
the
at the time,
expectations were
but
the same either, right?
I agree.
And there's
Right.
a lot of things are different now.
well, now we expect everything from Apple because they're Apple. I mean,
It is
Exactly
one of
right.
those things. Yeah.
I would rather they went to a 2-year cycle or an 18-month cycle or whatever, rather than this year-long cycle. I mean, I
well,
don't give a crap
it's
about
not
your
going to
earnings
happen
report.
though. But you
It's
read Tim
no.
Cook's article about that. He said this is why we release every year, and we're going to keep on.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I know.
See,
I know
and
he said
and
that.
that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem right there. The level of consumer expectation has remained the same. You're going to
Yeah.
give me what I
Mhm.
want.
If he
New
went to a
stuff
2-year
every
cycle,
year.
he would lose customers, and that's it. He
Well,
would.
it's not, and it's right, because we're all already going. We get to a year, we're like, oh, I'm bored with my device. Where's my next
Yeah, I
one?
want one every
Right.
We
6
all do that.
months.
But on top of all that, the pressure that they've got, of course, is, as Chris, you mentioned it earlier.
Right.
You got a board cycle that you're dealing with. You've got a shareholder
Exactly.
cycle that you're dealing with, and they expect, if you don't announce new things, then you don't get new sales, then you don't get profit increases. You don't get, it goes on and on
Right.
and on. It's all
And then
very
if I don't
dependent.
make more money, then I don't make more money.
Money.
Yes.
And let's not forget that we got this whole news industry, tech news industry based on it now too, that
Yeah.
expects
And
certain
you've got
cycles
all
and
of these external forces like China, and whatever they're
exactly.
getting.
Exactly.
If they go belly up over there, they can't make them. So,
Exactly. And
wow.
that's
There's a lot of challenges.
right. And if somebody is going to reset that level of expectation and have it be successful, all right, I don't think it's Google that's going to do it. I don't think it's Amazon or Microsoft that's going to be able to do it. I think I don't
If
think
it
it's
can be
Samsung.
achieved, it's
It's going to
Apple.
be Apple that's going to be able to
If
do
it can
it.
be
If it can
achieved,
be
yeah.
achieved. All right.
Yeah,
If they can come back and say, hey, we want to let you know, we're calling you to tell you that we can't call you. All right. I just got grounded. I'm calling you to tell you that I can't call you because I got grounded. And the problem is we're lengthening the cycle. Why are we lengthening the cycle? We're lengthening it because we care more about you and the way these things work.
Well,
and
if anybody could
interaction
sell
with
it, it would be
however
them,
they're going
right?
to spin it, right? However they're going to spin it. But the point is, they're the ones I believe that have the best chances and opportunity to make it work.
I don't see it happening, but I would agree with you.
Yeah, me too.
Just saying. I mean, I'm not saying, but anyway.
Listen,
but
listen to us, because we're nobody.
right. What do we have to lose?
Hey,
But
we
haven't
may
been
be
wrong.
nobody, but we have made
haven't
some
been
predictions,
wrong.
folks, that have come to.
We have.
They really have.
We
Well,
have
and
not been wrong.
and if nothing else, I mean, I think one of the reasons we all started talking along these lines is because we've been doing this a really long time and come from different aspects of this, and so we do have a little bit of perspective here.
A little bit.
That's Chris's way of saying we're old.
Okay.
Hey, and you know what?
Mhm.
There's wisdom there. Seriously. All
That's
right. There's
right.
wisdom in gray hair or no gray hair. Anyway, the point that I'm making is you guys are right. We do know what we're talking about. Not to blow our own horn, but beep beep. All right.
We're
We know
right
what
more
we're
often
talking
than
about.
not.
We this is not our first rodeo. We know what we're talking about. We also know what we're doing. All
And
right.
if we don't, we're damn good at pretending. So there you go.
Absolutely. Spin that baby. Let it spin round. Hey, speaking of spinning round, do you know what I heard?
I know what you heard. Tell us what you heard, though.
I'm going to tell you. YouTube is now blocking the ad blockers.
Weren't they always trying to, though? To be fair,
They finally yes, they've been trying to figure out a way
Yeah.
of blocking the ad blockers because this is the way that a lot of those sites, including YouTube, make money. But Brother Joel, come on, give us the lowdown on this.
All right. So basically, there's been, there is this wild assumption that lots of folks made is, oh, YouTube is free. It should always be free. Well, no. There and I get why some people are not happy about this, okay? Because and really this is something that YouTube can fix. Okay. For example, if you're watching a minute video, but you get 2 30-second advertisements, that's going to piss you off.
Right.
You know, the video you were trying to watch is only a minute long. Okay. So it's like, so now you're making them spend 2 minutes. But in all honesty, though, I'm on the side of YouTube. YouTube finances all of what they do, developing the apps and keeping the site up, paying Google for hosting, because it's probably Google hosting them, since their parent company alongside Google is Alphabet, so this service is not free.
No.
Even though you
No.
can log into it and use it for free.
But what they're not paying a huge amount for is content. They're paying much less for content than a Netflix or an Amazon.
Well, yes and no. Yes,
I know they
no.
pay for it, but they don't pay as
Right.
much for it. And a lot of that content they're not paying for at all. It's
Right.
limited content that they pay
Some
for.
of
So
it, yes.
My problem has never been that they charge or want to charge. My problem is
Right.
what they're charging. They shouldn't be charging the same as a premium service that
for the
spends a lot more
premium,
money. Yeah, that pays for content more. That's
Right.
where my problem is with it.
Right.
So that goes behind that, like the only legal way, and yes, I'm saying legal. I'm not going to tell you guys
Nope.
how that you can circumvent the ad blocker. There's different ways that you can do this. All right. You're going to Google it. I ain't going to say it. All right. But the only legal way is to pay for premium. Now, see, what all do you actually get with premium? Okay. So you get YouTube Music. Now, granted, I know Larry and I had a discussion. You can't use that on the Apple Watch, but that
Well, that's
is
here or there. I mean, it
right.
doesn't mean it's a bad service.
Right. So
Right.
so that's one you get. I mean, you get YouTube Music. There are a ton of movies for free on YouTube right now.
Yes, there are.
I'm talking legit ones.
Yeah,
not
most
some
of them
idiot
get
uploaded.
most of them you can get on other services, so it's not all
Right.
that.
True, but you get that. You get downloadability. You can download a video and watch it when you're offline, when you're on an airplane. All right. You can, if you listen to a stream, like there's several streamers that I go on to where they don't actually have any video content. I'm just listening to the voices like a podcast.
Right.
I can start the video on my phone, put the screen asleep, and stick it in my pocket with premium. Right. There are, like I said, there are ways around that. You can still do that even without the premium, but they're not exactly legal.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and if you are like me and got in early, like I've been doing it pretty much ever since it came out for $9.99 a month. Okay. I think new subscriptions are $13.99.
They are $13.99. That's what they're
right
now.
And I watch more YouTube than I watch other streaming services. I'm being honest here. All right. There's a show, there's a 1 to 2 hour show that comes out. I would say 4 or 5 times a week. It's random when the guy does it, but I listen to that every episode of that. There's another show that they have one every day, but I only watch when certain creators are on. So I watch
use
that.
Case. Same. We always say this.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely
and
true.
Then, like anything, like YouTube is the best way to find out how to fix
Anything.
lots of things. Lots of things. I couldn't find, like I had my bag with my weights and exercise bands from my church fitness group, and I picked it up on Thursday. Out when I got home, banged the weight into the seat, and the spring came out from under it. So now I'm calling the dealer to find out, hey, how can I have that put back in? Nothing broke. There's no actual broken pieces or nothing, but the spring came out. So
I think
And
that they would.
I couldn't find that on YouTube. Could not find it on YouTube.
Well,
But
I think they would get a lot less pushback though if they had a price point that was maybe half. I mean, $13.99 is a lot. They did,
used to.
and so if they had
But
one
not-
where all they did was strip the ads,
right? They used to, and
You know.
it was not. It was not in the U.S. It was I believe in like countries like
I-
India and stuff
But
like
if they
that.
would just strip out the music and knock a couple of bucks off,
well, that's what I'm
I'd do
saying.
it in a heartbeat. I really
Right.
would.
yeah. I don't want those
I don't
side
want their
features.
music, but I'll pay for
I don't
your-
need the
everything else.
downloads. I don't need any of that. Just strip
Right,
out my
right,
ads and
right.
charge me $5 a month or $6 a month. I would actually probably bite for that. I would go for that.
Sure.
I
Right.
think the other challenge with that they've got is that, again, at one point the content was, from a consumer perspective, primarily free with very
Right.
few ads. Now
Right.
there's a lot of ads. So I think people are feeling pissed off because you feel like you're getting deliberately squeezed down the corral to the slaughterhouse. That's what you feel like.
Well,
And
you're specifically in many cases those ads totally disrupt, and maybe not just in YouTube.
It
but I know,
depends, right?
Yeah.
it depends on the service that you're
And we've talked about this in
talking
other
about.
services too,
Yes.
as well. So we know that this increase in ads is everywhere, and
Oh,
it's getting to be too much for
Right.
everybody. But in this case, it's easy to complain because, again, the largest number of content creators are not making any money. So basically, YouTube's getting the content for free.
right.
I say free. I understand that they host it. So does everybody else. We need to
Right.
get over that. Everybody hosts it.
But
You're right.
true with some respects, but like I also say too, now granted, I kind of wish they were still doing this a little bit because I think it would have probably made it a little bit more valuable. But if it wasn't for YouTube, the Cobra Kai TV show would not have existed because that's
I
where
don't know
it
if I
started.
care about that.
Well, I know. Not everyone's
was
gonna care
actually,
about
and
that.
they killed it, and it moved over to Netflix. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, it went to
Somewhere.
Netflix.
Correct.
I will tell you that that has been that particular show. I don't think YouTube should have killed it because
That was their only
absolute-
success.
It's been a huge success for Netflix.
Right.
All right.
But
I mean,
nobody
Netflix
knew
is-
about it when it was on YouTube. I'll
That
be
is
honest with you.
correct.
People did not know about it. So
That
it
is
wasn't a
correct.
success on YouTube.
Some of us did. I mean, I watched
But
it when
not,
it was on
not,
YouTube.
not enough
but
to make
yeah.
it a success, though, because
That's
clearly
true.
they
That's
killed
true.
it.
They didn't put any marketing behind it. After Netflix acquired it, that's when they started pushing the marketing,
Right.
and the advertising of the show, and then everybody went, "Oh, cool! We get more wax on, wax off with this. We get to see
Yeah,
Johnny
because nobody-
finally come back
right.
and kick his
Nobody
ass,
heard it,
and
but nobody heard
everybody's
about it when
Right.
it was on
Yes.
Google. Unless you were a YouTube geek, nobody knew it existed when it was on YouTube.
Exactly. Exactly. All right.
In certain respects, yeah, but
Right,
But-
but,
but
let's
think-
get down
well,
to
there's
brass.
no
Let's get
advertising.
down to brass tacks here, though, kids. I mean, what happens though if you don't go the premium route, which right now is really the only route? The $13.99 is the only route. What happens?
Correct.
If you
get
keep
a lot
your
of
ad
ads.
blockers on,
Oh,
if you
well,
keep your
if you
ad
keep them
blockers on,
right
and
now
you
they're
continue to watch YouTube with your ad blockers on, what happens, Joel?
I'm seeing a lot of folks they'll get a pop-up say please turn your ad blocker off.
Right.
And I think right now that's all it is. Although I've also heard some rumors of possible blocks starting to happen as well.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Based on your login. If you're logged in and you have the ad blocker on and you won't turn it off, then
They will
bingo,
failure to
bango.
disable, according to AndroidHeadlines.com, which is the source that we're
Right.
citing here.
and
Failure to disable the ad blocker will lead to the user's ban from YouTube's video streaming platform.
I'm going to say this: as much as I dislike the way they've handled this, and Joel, you mentioned it early. As much as I dislike the notion that often these ads are longer than the video I'm trying to watch, and that's
Yes.
annoying. That's starting to piss me off too. Despite all of that, they have the right to make money on this, whether they're showing you an ad
Absolutely do.
Correct.
or whether they're charging you a premium fee to not do that. Either way, they have a right to make money on it.
Yes, they
You don't
do.
have to like it. You don't have to watch it. that's
But I
the choices
think,
you've got.
guys, I think they're their own worst enemy in one
I think they are.
particular way.
In some ways, yes.
I just did an example. I went up just now on YouTube and I said how to change an S trap under a sink. 739,000 videos on how to do that. How in the hell do you pick the one that's really good?
And here's the thing, Larry.
Right.
So either they're going to make money because they're going to show you ads on those, or whatnot, but those content providers, most of those 739,000 people won't see a dime.
No, they won't. But what I'm
Most
getting
of
at is
they don't have the
when YouTube
they don't
first
have the
started,
followers.
and
Right,
and you
exactly
and I were up
right.
there using
Right.
it, there were only 20 videos. I would have gladly paid for it because any one of them were good. Now most of them suck.
Right, but the
Period.
biggest problem is most of those people aren't going to get a cut from anything because they
They
don't have
aren't
the
going to get a
followers.
dime.
They don't
Well,
have the
it
draw.
reminds me, when Amazon first started to do Prime big time, and Prime in terms of the video,
Right.
and that came out. Remember, one of the ways that they increased their library, if you will, was they bought a lot of crap movies that nobody on the planet would have paid money for it, in
Correct.
years gone by. And they bought a lot of these, you used to find them in the $2 bargain bin videotape bin at the record store, right? That's how those were. And they bought a ton of those, and there was like no filtering mechanisms on their interface.
No.
And there was no way to bubble up the stuff that was the content you really wanted to see. They've got this problem, and Google's a search engine. They should be able to get this crap figured out,
Right.
but they really don't.
Yeah, and you talk about that, Larry. That's a really good point to bring up, though, is at one point they did have dislikes visible.
They
did. You're right, Joel.
I wish they
and
would.
that they have since taken them off because
that's a very good point.
Anybody's feelings.
I think the reason why they did that is not so much the feelings thing, is that there are people with a political bent, both sides.
Mm-hmm.
It's not conservative or liberal.
No.
It's both sides that would bomb videos they did not like with dislikes.
Yes.
They probably didn't even watch the video.
Unfortunately, they don't do that now. They put crap in the comments, so they shouldn't. But that's
right.
But they load up the comments now anyway. We all know this happens on stories and in videos.
They do that with Rotten Tomatoes too.
Yeah,
they
do.
God.
It's all
so. I mean,
you can't trust it.
That was YouTube's. Well, that was YouTube's excuse for removing the dislike count.
Yeah.
Never mind that you can probably figure out the people who were bombing the videos.
Oh, you absolutely
ban
can.
them.
Right.
But never mind.
To me, that was just lazy on their part. But
right.
They could have done that.
The other thing is creators can't even see the counts either, so they don't know. Did they like my video or did they dislike the video? All they know is how many likes they got, which is a pointless number.
I think so too.
Well, without the other one, yeah, agree.
Right, without the other one. Right. So I mean, Linus did a really good video on this when they removed them. I highly recommend going into YouTube and searching for that. But it's regards to how this show thinks that if you don't see it as a value, don't watch it. Don't pay for premium. Don't watch YouTube.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the other problem is most of us have, I mean, not all of us, I get that, but many people have a spouse. So you're going to buy a family. So for me, it's $22 if I want to have a family membership to YouTube. Right. But if you just, that's starting to get expensive.
I would like them to rethink their pricing models a little bit.
That's all
other than that, do I think they have the right to do it? I absolutely do. Do I think they should do it? Yeah, I get it. There's a cost.
And like Joel, a lot of times, I mean, there's great content up there. You just have to find it.
But I do think they need to rethink their pricing model. I think it's unreasonable in the world of premium audio and video that's out there. They're not well lined up in terms of that stuff.
I agree.
And I think they need to kind of rethink that a little bit, but okay.
Well, and there's also some questionable ways that they treat some of the creators, like there's this whole thing with SS Sniper Wolf, which I don't really want to get into too much detail on that, but she basically went to one of her detractors' houses and basically doxed that person. All right. So
that's lazy.
And her channel, she was put on, basically not able to upload for like a day. Okay.
Well, crap.
And now she's still in the platform and all that. I know people who have been demonetized for simply having an opinion that the powers that be at YouTube did not like.
Well, and I would argue that even other channels, not YouTube, but other services, other things, broadcast shows that I think are completely moronic, but as long as it makes them money, they're going to continue to do it. Even when I think they're sometimes harmful, even when I think they're harmful shows, they still broadcast them because it makes them money. And YouTube's no different.
Right.
So I don't see YouTube being any different. But you're right. They don't. If it makes them money in any way, shape, or form, they're going to continue to support it. And you're right. You're right. High volume content creators, they're going to get away with stuff. It's just how it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So
So I want to go ahead and move us on.
What else we got here, Chris? What else we got?
I'll tell you. You know, I just want to say it was a test. It was only a test. All right. Had it been an actual thing, you would have really gotten pissed off. But
you know, I feel that way about all the years I've known you too.
Thank you. Bada bing.
Bada bing. I'll be here all week, folks.
Thank you. Pushing the veal. Okay. So so what was a test with T-Mobile and their pricing plan increases? They were at one point they were forcing folks out of their legacy plans and into some newer, higher priced.
It was some subset of folks, right? It wasn't
some
everybody.
Subset of folks. And they said, oh, no. We didn't mean it. We were only testing that whole thing. That's not for real. Come on. We were kidding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was sure. It was a small test.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Baloney. All right.
You know,
baloney. All right.
Well, I think
somebody screwed up, at least in my opinion. But go ahead, Chris.
Well, you and I think we all talked about this during the week. I think we were talking about this in email chains, and the thought was, you know, first of all, you know, they had set up to do this, and they just somebody accidentally pulled the trigger too soon. But it isn't like they just all of a sudden accidentally moved people on the plans. It was that they were ready to do it, and somebody pushed the button too fast. So. T-Mobile, T-Mobile did some interesting things over the years. They bought the right frequencies to be able to deploy high-speed 5G better than anybody because they had the right frequencies to do it. Right. And they were able to deploy that faster and better than anybody else. Technologically, they've done a great job, although they kind of sucked with the way they incorporated Sprint. They didn't do a very good job of that.
Right.
But having said all of that, despite their technology and the cool things, they've always played the Maverick. And the problem with that is their business is kind of the Wild West. It always has been. They jump and do things on a whim anyway. No. They've historically done that. That's a challenge. And if you're a business wanting to buy services,
there are
going to be hesitant.
Articles and been
this doesn't help.
Different reports that have indicated that the business side of the company has some challenges.
Well, their business, and even if you look at their regular phone bills, they're complicated. They're still complicated.
Well,
and they shouldn't be.
Most phone bills are.
That's true. To be fair, that's absolutely true.
Most phone bills are. I mean, they've got there's so many hidden fees. There's so many, when a company tells you, when a phone company tells you that you can get, it's only going to cost you $50 a month. All right. Per line. Only, all right, or it's only going to cost you $35 a line for this plan. All right, bullshit. All right, because when you go through and you find all the hidden fees or all the extras that are added on to that, it's really. I mean, I've got for my family. All right, I've got 7 lines on a red hinged or red hued account. Okay, all right.
Yes.
And as opposed to a magenta account or a blue account. All right.
There you go.
I've got one on a red account. And to be very, very honest, all right, my phone bill for 7 lines is roughly around $500 a month. All right. And all of those are supposed to, it should be, if we were to stick to even if it was just $50 a month. All right, for each of those. It depends, because not everybody's on the same bandwidth plan. All right.
Right.
Some are on faster bandwidth plans than others. All right. But if you were to go in and say, okay, it's only going to be $30 a month. 3 times 7 is $210, right? Three times 70 or 30 times 70, 310 or $210. Or if it was 40, all right, $280 a month. All right. That's not the way that it works. All right. They have all sorts of government fees, this fee, that fee, the other fee, bandwidth.
And if you financed any of your phones, there's all sorts of weird fees, and the way they break it out
absolutely
doesn't make any
that's
sense.
Without your phone, correct? That is
right.
Any phone.
Yeah,
phone
it's all complicated.
It's all really complicated. So we, it's one of the reasons why nobody has gone back. Everybody's bought their phone from like a third party, be it Apple or Samsung directly, either one of those or something else. We haven't gone back to the carrier for a phone. All right. And we haven't gone back to the carrier for a phone because I'm sick and tired of having to pay that over and above the bill to the carrier.
Yeah. I decided to try it once and I regret it.
Enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I hate the way that phone companies do this.
I'm all do it though. There's no exclusivity here.
Yeah, seriously thinking that it might be time to go to a minty green colored phone company. All right, because you've got the better 5G service. All right, and I can pay.
I've had some problems with that though myself, and you and I have talked about that.
Yes, we have. I have not had the same level of difficulties that you have. So again, your mileage may vary, but I mean, I've got more than a few lines on Mint or a minty green colored phone company. And all right, I will tell you that you can pay once a year.
Yeah.
Once a year, and it is far, far less than you would pay for that same in the red colored or the pink colored or the blue colored company. I mean,
folks, I'm going to tell you that goes very well for you as long as you don't have any challenges. Once you do, support becomes more of a challenge.
It is.
Just keep that in mind.
It is. It can be as long as things go right.
As long as things go right, you can save a lot of money. That's
fine.
Absolutely true.
Absolutely. All right. But I will tell you though that it's getting to a point though where, that's a lot. I mean, 500 times that's $6,000 a year.
I know.
Right?
I get it.
It's $6,000 a year. Just for the phone.
But going back to the original Timo article here, the thing is, they're going to pull the trigger on this. They're going to find a way to apologize for it. They're going to find a way to sell it. But but there's going to have a way to say, here's why we needed to do it. Now they have to sell it. Now they have to turn on and sell it.
Well, they're going to have a harder time selling it based on.
But they will.
This particular incident. But
these rates are going to keep going, and they're going to keep going up because that's what they're all doing right now. So I don't expect that to go away.
Well, yeah, I will say yes. It is going to happen. It is going to happen. They are not going to make it go away. All right. And this is not something that you're going to be able to get away from should you want to stay with Timo.
And I don't want to say, again, this particular incident is with Timo, but we all have stories we can tell about all of the different carriers that we've seen. They all have these same games.
Yeah. And they're all after the same thing. All right. Whether they be light green, hot pink, red or blue, they're after your green. They're after your green. What it is. All right. And that's just the way that it is. But I digress.
Yes, you do.
I do. Because you know what? That something good has come out of all of, well, not all of this, but out of this particular segment. And you know what that is?
What is that?
I'll tell you what that is. That's that the Pixel Watch has gotten Wear OS 4, and this is a big deal. So, Joel, why don't you go ahead and lay this out for us?
All right, so they just released Pixel Wear OS 4 for the Pixel Watches. Both, I'm assuming this is probably also on the Pixel 2 as Pixel Watch 2 as well. But probably the biggest and most exciting feature is you no longer have to erase your watch to take your watch from one phone to the next. Now,
and this is a big deal This
It's
is
a big deal
be-
for Chris because he has multiple Android phones that he wants to use his watch with.
This is
Unlike
true.
myself.
This is true.
But
even
this also
even
works
though-
for you when you go get a new phone, though.
Thank you.
So
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When it's time for you to upgrade your phone, or you do get a new phone, normally what you've got to do is you've got to blow the watch in order to move it from old phone to new phone. All right. Which is a pain in the butt, because in some cases you need Bluetooth. And we talked about Bluetooth earlier and some of the challenges that it has, aside from any flipper zero sort of things that are going on. But Bluetooth is challenging enough as it is. You've got to go and connect your watch, or make sure your watch is solidly connected to your phone, and that you have the ability to back up your watch. All right. And it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. You don't always get a good backup, or you don't always get, or it fails somewhere in the middle of it, or whatever. All right. So long story short, you'd have to back up your watch, blow your watch, reinstall the apps on the new phone, or after it restores or gets everything sort of situated. And then you'd have to go ahead and reconnect your watch. And then if you got a good backup, or a backup that you can use at all, then it would require you to restore that backup onto your watch. And sometimes that doesn't work either. All right. So
not an issue now.
Not an issue now. As long as
so
as long as the Google account that you want to use is on that phone.
Or the watch.
Or the watch. Well, it's got to be on the
watch.
It's got to be on the watch. All right.
Right.
As long as the Google account that is on your watch is on your new phone, it's just easily transferable over.
And the same thing goes with the backup and restore.
Yes.
The backup and restore. If you decide to buy that Pixel Watch 2, you can now switch to the new watch and keep all your data settings and all that by restoring the watch.
Right.
And I always thought they had a Google Calendar app, but now they have a Google Calendar app. So that's a good thing.
And then I think the thing that's important here, though, with all of this, is that Android watches in general, broadly speaking, have had a very spotty track record of support down the road after their initial releases. It's really nice to see this continuing, and seeing Google's release watchOS and continuing the support for these. I mean, I understand it's not that old yet. I get it, but it's nice to see it. It's nice to see some consistency in that.
Well,
that's a big plus as far as I'm concerned.
It's finally I think it's bringing the Pixel Watch on par with the Apple Watch, to be honest. And then they also added safety features. You got safety check, emergency sharing, emergency info on the watch. New improved customization capabilities, like new text-to-speech engine to support faster and more reliable talkback.
Wow.
Watch, bold text, new improved modifications. So, and enhanced notifications. Notifications come with smart link recognition of phone numbers and addresses, allow you to tap and call that person. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
it's nice to see.
It's nice. It's a lot of little things that are really going to make the Pixel Watch much better watch than it was.
Well, as you said, they're bringing the feature sets on. They're bringing the feature sets more on par. I mean, there's a certain standard set of features that people are expecting out of the watch, out of a watch, any watch, and they're bringing it online. And I'm really happy to see it. I think Samsung was in the lead on this stuff. I'm not sure that there will be in the way that this is going.
Not anymore. No, I think.
Yeah,
the new watch is essentially a spec bump, but if you still have the old watch like I do and Mr. Spera does, you can load this on that watch now too. So I mean,
that's awesome stuff. I mean, it really is. Again, it's nice to see them supporting it. I'm really happy for that.
Totally. So I mean, but I like my Pixel Watch. I'm not getting the Pixel Watch 2, not planning on it. Now if I have the opportunity to, when I finally do upgrade to a Pixel 8 Pro, I might. But I think I'm running out of time.
Yeah, some deals staring in the face.
Well, they've removed a lot of those freebies though from the Pixel.
That's true.
8.
Yeah,
they did the same thing.
Deal is gone.
Well, they did the same thing with the Fold, and unfortunately, that's one thing I'm not really happy with Google about. When they don't hold those deals more than about a week or so, and then all of a sudden they cancel them without a lot of warning. So unfortunately, you can no longer get the free watch with the Pixel 8. But you know, who knows?
Right.
You know,
But the
Right.
biggest ones are the first ones we mentioned, the watch transfer,
yep,
the backup and
That's
restore. I
huge.
mean, that's huge
Right.
because then when I go to get my Pixel 8, I just have my account on there and switch it over seamlessly.
I think it's also good to point out.
It.
It's also good to point out that the Pixel Watch pricing is not bad. So you
Oh,
know,
no.
you do well for the pricing. So
Right.
you know,
The only thing that I don't like about the Pixel Watch, and we've talked about this before, is the size of the screen.
I
All
wish
right?
it was a little
Right.
bigger. That's
I
my.
do wish it
my
Still the
thinking.
same on the
bigger.
new one, unfortunately.
Yep.
But
Yep. It's got new innards, not new outards. All right.
right.
But the thing that bothers me the most, it's not so much the size of the actual device, it is the size of the display. There is a nice sizable bezel on the original
Yeah.
Pixel Watch.
Right.
All right, that I'm not that crazy about, that I don't think that they
Yeah.
needed to do. Or they should have done something different in order to minimize that particular bezel. And I don't care if it's a magnifying lens on top of the damn thing or not. I want to be able to see, I want that display to take the entire size of the watch. There are other watches
Edge to edge
out there
content.
that are, it's personal, it's a thing.
Yep.
All right. But
Yep.
that's, you know,
And I get around that myself. I use the screen I use is mostly the watch face I use is mostly black, so I
Yeah.
don't notice the bezel as much.
sure.
But if you like to use a white colored,
or some
Sure.
other kind
you're
of,
gonna
yeah,
see it.
you're
You
gonna.
know?
I think irrespective, I would have liked it to have been a little larger because you know I have these aging eyes that prefer a little
Yes.
bit
Right.
bigger
Yes.
screen. But I you know maybe next year, the year after, they'll release a Pixel Watch Pro. But I think they've done a good job with the device based around
Or-
what it is.
Or maybe not a pro version, but maybe just
Whatever.
a couple different sizes, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you.
You know that.
I mean, I'm just making up a name for it.
I
You
know.
know,
I know.
you
I
know.
know.
So,
But-
and if you use that, guys, I'm gonna sue you for copyright. No, I'm kidding. Of
You
course,
heard
but
it here first, kids.
You heard it here first.
You blockhead.
Yeah. Goodness.
So,
I'm pulling the football.
go
I'm
ahead,
pulling
though.
the football.
There's the
thank
next
you.
show
Pull the
title.
football,
I'm
thank you.
gonna sue you.
all right. So I want to go ahead, though, and I want to move us to our Windows segment. Right. And I found out something very, very interesting. I saw this article. I read it a couple of times, and it really kind of made me go,
Huh.
oh, I dare you. I just can't wait to see the fallout from this. Oh, it's going to be big. Amazon managers have been given the green flag to go ahead and terminate those. There is a process, but to terminate those that fail to return to the office. All right. Now, I know that we've talked a lot about this in the past with both Google as well as Apple.
Any company, yeah.
And
You know,
Zoom.
any company
Zoom of
that-
all people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For folks that you know, it's time to come back. And there are a lot of people out there who have gotten used to the fact that we can, and I said this many, many years ago, there's really no job out there that could not be done remotely. And I think for the most part, that's correct. For the most part. There are
Especially
probably
today.
Yeah, yes, especially today when we're talking mostly white collar jobs. All right. But for the most part, like you said, most of those could be done remotely. Now, a lot of companies, including Google and Apple and Microsoft and Amazon and some of the larger companies, healthcare companies that I know of that have, you know, tens of thousands of employees, they've paid for office space. And they are requiring people, most of the time, they require people to be in the office at least 3 days a week. All right. You pick the days that you're not going to be in the office, but A, they're consistent, and B, if you need to make a change to those, you get manager approval. All right. But you're in 3 days. All right. I've worked for companies that are like that. And I don't have a problem doing that. Most people, however, or at least a lot of people, and I think a lot of people in the tech industry are the ones that are having the biggest problem getting back into the office. A lot of it is because, hey, you know, back in the pandemic, you know, I've got young kids and I've got healthcare related
Totally
issues.
different
I've got
circumstances.
childcare related issues, or
Yep.
I've got other kinds of things. And, me being home has really made my life in that regard a lot easier. And I don't want to give that up. So I'm not coming back. You can't make me. Guess what?
Nah.
They can.
Now Amazon can. All right. And I think this is getting a lot of press, or at least it caught my attention, because they've now been given the green light to terminate those. And the process effectively is this: if you don't come in for at least 3 days a week, we have a conversation. All right. Chris, I'm going to pick on you. All right.
Okay, go for
Because
it.
you pulled the football. All right.
I did pull a football.
You did. Right. And Chris, I need to make certain that you are in the office 3 days a week. It's part of the employment agreement. If it wasn't before, it is now. All right. So if you want to continue here, we need you in 3 days a week. You say yes or no, or him and ha, or whatever it is that you do, and then you stay home. All right. The second time, I will go ahead and we'll have some sort of a coaching memo, or have some sort of a something or other that goes to your file that says, Chris, now that we've had the conversation, it gets a little teethier. This is written notice for you that you need to be in the office 3 days a week. Please comply. Please sign this note, or sign this other piece of paper that says that you refuse to sign. All right. And that goes into your file. If you still don't do it after that, Chris, we're going to miss you. We really enjoyed having you.
Sorry to see you go.
Yeah, sorry. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So basically, you're going to pull the football on me.
Yes, I'm going to pull the football. And that's just the way that it is. All right. You need to.
And we're going to give you a baseball bat, though.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing. Most companies or most employees are saying, okay, fine, I'll just go and work for somebody else who's going to allow me to work from home. A lot of them are turning back away from that, kids. I mean, 20 years ago, we wouldn't have, even thought about doing this
Never
full time from home,
Yep.
even hell, 5 years ago, 2018. I mean, we wouldn't have even, no, not even close. All right. 2019 was just really the kind of sort of the start of it, the beginning of it. And it was more towards the end of that year that things started to get hairy. All right.
Yep.
So all I'm going to say, kids, if you want your job, you like your job, you want to keep your job, work it out, wear a mask if you have to.
Yep.
Nobody's going to give you grief about it.
So as we were talking about in the pre-show about this too, and it's like, you agree to work for somebody, and a lot of times at the beginning of the pandemic, the conditions were stated that, okay, you can work from home now as long as the conditions continue.
Right.
It was conditional. It wasn't an
pandemic's
unconditional.
over, things change.
So, however, I will say, and again, as I said in the pre-show, I work for a company that during the pandemic, because it was difficult to get employees, we hired employees from all over the country under the understanding that they would be able to work from wherever they are.
Right.
So that's different. That's a different condition. So that is, you've got this, whether it's verbal or written, you've got a verbal commitment to that person being able to work from home. That kind of person, I don't think you can bring into the office and say, well, we're going to change the terms of your employment.
Actually, they can. Actually, most companies can, because they've already got that written into the, the offer letter. Right.
That's what I'm getting at.
So
it depends on how it was presented. If the offer letter said there's a condition that you have to, or something like that, that's one thing. If the offer letter didn't say that, but there was a verbal commitment that said they wouldn't do that, then they've got a problem. Then there's a potential lawsuit happening there. But that's all. But that's a case by case thing. That isn't a general broad kind of thing. So I think in general, the attitude was, you got to go work from home and people got used to that. That's true. They didn't have to pay the health, the child care
costs. Yeah.
People got used to some of that stuff. I get that, but the point is, you still understood what the conditions are when you started working from home. Those conditions have changed. Guess what? So my company could do that to some of us because some of us were, working pre-pandemic.
Absolutely.
My personal conditions were a little different. It would be difficult for them to ask me to go back into the office, but I would absolutely consider it. I mean, and I would have to. What I would do is, as a business rule, I would say, okay, let me do the mathematics on this. What's it going to cost me if I do this? How, what am I going to save if I don't do this? What's it look like for me? Okay, it's better for me to take a
Right.
different position. I'll go take a
Right.
different position. It wouldn't be a personal, I'm mad at you, I don't want to come back in, pout, pout, pout kind of thing. It would be a,
Right.
let's look at the business case, because again, we're looking a couple years down the road now. Things have changed. So maybe my finances have
That's
changed.
the way that you think, but I think a lot of people are acting more out of emotion, and they're
They
just
are.
doing
They
it.
are.
You know?
Yeah.
Screw you.
I'm saying they probably shouldn't, because this is a business deal
Right.
at the end of the day.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's
agree.
Amazon, and it's Amazon's job, not their own job. So Amazon sets
Right.
that requirement. You don't like it, you don't have to work there.
I mean,
but
I
you talk
understand.
about our company, my company. We had already before the pre-pandemic, we had 40% who were like myself, which included me working from home.
Mhm,
All right.
mhm.
Since the pandemic, we had one complete office completely shut down. After they're not, they don't need that office anymore. A lot of the people who were on that worked out of that office had moved. They literally picked up and moved because they could during the pandemic, because it didn't matter where they lived. And while they're saying, hey, if you live near an office, we'd like to see you every once in a while, but it's not a requirement that you come into the office. So as long as you can work effectively, like I do, you're fine. You can continue to work from home. I did fly to my office a few weeks ago. We had a training week, and I actually found out more of the team. I thought a lot of the team actually lived there, and they don't. They actually live all over the country. So that's something that our company has chosen. They're not making it a requirement for you to be in the office, but would they like having you there? Yeah, they would.
And I would argue a lot of, and I think this is why we get the emotional argument from folks, is that a lot of these jobs, there's no hard reason why you have to be in an office in a lot of cases.
No.
But there are a lot of soft reasons why it may be beneficial at least some of the time. Now, being on the infrastructure support side of the world like I am, it's actually harder for me when people are moving back and forth. It'd be easier for me if they were only in the office or only at home. But this moving around thing makes my job actually a lot harder. But so I don't like hybrid for that reason. It makes my world much more challenging, because I now have to support both environments.
Right.
So I, from a pure technology standpoint, it doesn't benefit me, them doing this split hybrid thing. But each company is different. Each company has different needs. You meet the company's needs. That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
And if you don't agree with them, it's their job. They created you, and they gave it to you conditionally that you could be home for a while. That's changed. You got to go with, if you don't like it, go get a different job. There are plenty of jobs out there that'll do remote, and some will, some won't. And go hire
the
one.
only
Go
thing
find
that
one.
changes that, though, is if you happen to be in a union and it's in specifically in your contract.
But that
different
again,
deal
that
entirely.
That would be
Correct.
contractual. That goes back to the contract. What did the contract say? What did you sign up for when you signed in? When you came on board.
Entirely.
Correct.
Yep, totally different deal.
So,
in which case,
that's the only difference. Right.
Yeah.
Or if you have a job where it's physically impossible to do it remotely, that's different too. But we already know that, right? There are some jobs you can't do remotely. That's true. So, here we go.
What are you gonna do?
So how has that proceeded at all? I mean, were there deadlines on that?
To be honest, I don't recall off the top of my head.
We'll probably hear in the news.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know that it's upcoming. I know that it is.
Did they talk about roughly what percentage of the workforce they're having a problem with?
No.
I'm curious if it's just a small number of workers or if it's a large number of workers.
I think I know that when I was working with them about a year or so ago, most of their folks were 100% remote.
Gotcha.
All right. but they now want them back in the office 3 days a week.
I wonder what the pushback. I mean, what's the percentage of pushback, right? You
That
know,
I don't know. The article
curious,
doesn't say.
curious.
But you know that whole scenario that you and I sort of went through here. They're saying that that we have to give you a reasonable time frame to comply. So if I talk to you, right, you have 1 to 2 weeks in order before it goes to the next step. 1 to 2 weeks before it goes to the next step. If I know that you're not gonna, all right, then I may be only going to give you a week. All right. If there's something that you've got to work out, heck, tell me you've got something that you need to work out, and I will work with you to make certain that it does happen the right way. All right. But we want you back in the office. Managers have discretion here. All right.
They do. Okay.
So let's work it out. But the point is, we need to get you back in the office. I'm paying rent for this office space. All right. And I need to fill it. So, and you're one of the people that need to be filling. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
bring your football and get back in here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's right. That's the story.
So that's the story, and we're sticking to it. The other story, though, that I want to get to in our Windows segment is that Microsoft is apparently separating system apps and components from the operating system.
They really are.
Talk to me a little bit about this. This is interesting.
Well, when I first read the show notes about this, I went a little deeper and tried to find some more information about it. But in the end, that look that you see in a dog's face sometimes when they cock their head sideways and they look at you like, what are you doing? Well, that's me looking at Microsoft with this move, because I get it, but then again, I don't get it. Is it maybe just a move to separate system apps and in the OS so that absolutely the most newbie of newbies can understand the difference? Because this is something the average minorly tech-savvy Windows user did not ask for ever. So why did Microsoft wake up and say, we're going to do this? I don't get this. So usually a change of this magnitude comes after a big hue and cry from some segment of users. That's not the case. Nobody ever said, do this. We don't like this the way it is.
So what does this actually
no wailing
look,
and no gnashing of teeth.
What does this actually look like to a user? What is the user actually seeing?
Well, he's seeing a change in the system settings. When there's a new and what it exactly looks like, I'd have to go back up to the article, but basically there's going to be a system tab. If you just type in systems in the search box and settings now, you'll be taken to a page and it'll have for developers, activation stuff, and troubleshooting stuff, recovery, and things like projecting to this PC or remote desktop, all those things that are Microsoft's, we'll say. System apps and system settings are all in one place, and you don't have to go look for them. Well, so what? But Microsoft also says, we're still going to give you the opportunity to make them go away. If you don't want them, you can click on them and throw them away. I mean, if you don't want remote desktop in Windows Pro, well, just click it, uninstall it, and it's gone. It'll go away there and in system settings. So they've done a good job of that, but I just don't know why they did it. It wasn't broken. I didn't think.
No, it wasn't broken, but I think what they are trying to do is in the end, they're trying to give some, because there are some things out there like tips and feedback and stuff you're never ever going to
use, like Game Bar.
Right. Or chess in Mac OS or whatever it is, right? Solitaire. They're giving you the opportunity to know what is a system app and what is a system component, as opposed to something else that's part of.
So maybe, like I said earlier, it's people like you and I and the four of us, we know this stuff. We were born and raised on.
Well, it's because we were around when Windows.
But maybe the average person just doesn't get that. I don't know.
Mold enough to have been pre-Windows, so we understand.
Thank you.
There also could be another reason why they did it, and one of them could be security. That way, those apps can get faster security updates since they're not tied to the operating system anymore. So they can update those more regularly.
Yeah,
Well, I
maybe
think
they,
they're,
maybe
I
they
think
throw them
they're
in the store.
tied. I didn't see where they were not tied. They just put them where they talk about them. They put them in
Right.
in one big bucket that says system.
Right.
And I
Well,
don't-
maybe though that maybe they throw the updates of those into the store.
Yeah, like
Right,
also you
exactly.
can, when you're in that system tab in settings, down the left side there's an item named tab or apps. So you click on apps and it brings up everything that's an
Yeah,
app made by
that's
Microsoft on
that's what.
that machine.
Well, that's also it'll. Well, it's not just the Microsoft apps, if I remember correctly.
I think it's all
apps.
the apps.
It's apps you have installed. So it's what used to be under the programs under the control panel. That's
Yeah,
what used to be
programs
there.
in
Could be, yeah.
Yeah,
Features.
yeah. That's what
thank you,
That's
programs
what
and features. Thank you.
That's sort of what used to be there. That's what's showing up under apps now, and you can specify whether something's in the startup or not, and things like that. So
I think they're just maybe trying to make it softer and gentler for newbies, maybe.
I think
Maybe.
Possibility.
I think it has a
Maybe.
lot to do with rolling the remaining things that were in control panel into the settings,
Right.
and pulling and
Well,
getting
but
them.
what I'm looking at here is absolutely part of this that you now see under system and then system components used to be under apps and programs where you could go in there
Right.
and delete it. So now I go here to see and delete Game Bar or Microsoft Store
Yeah,
or
I think
Phone
that's to
Link
separate
or whatever.
installed apps. I think it's to separate installed apps from Microsoft stuff.
Right.
That'd be my guess,
Okay.
or at least a little bit better separation. I don't think
Well,
it's probably not
if
perfect.
that's the case, then maybe that's a good thing because a lot of people in their haste to remove bloatware, they go into apps and programs,
Yes.
they delete a whole bunch of crap and their PC dies and they call me and they go,
And they
"It
don't know
doesn't
why.
work."
Right.
Right.
Well, it's because
I agree.
Yeah, that might be it. That's a good idea or a
Yep.
good thought.
So
And this is still in a release preview. It's not
yeah,
out.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
This
not
is
out in
still
the.
either in the Canary or the dev channel.
I
It doesn't
think
hit- it
it's
doesn't
going
hit
to
it
come
yet.
out in 23H2.
Yeah, so it's not quite
Not
public
quite.
yet.
It's not
Sorta-
quite released yet, but right
It's
now,
in the
Mhm.
23H2 that should have been released.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Fair
true.
enough.
That's true.
Fair
Right.
enough.
That's true. So
But that's it. I mean, I don't think it's a big deal. It's
no, you just got to be careful. Look, if you don't know, don't uninstall.
No
All right.
kidding.
That's right.
Contact us here at iTechGear.org. We'll help you through it, or we'll get you to somebody who can. All right. Or contact whomever you've got in your family that runs your family's tech support. That's the guy that you call when you've removed one too many things from Windows.
Yeah,
and
I
computer
actually
blows
wrote
up.
an article called, how to safely remove only the bloatware or something
Yeah.
like that.
So it would be something that someone that you trust that knows what they're doing. If you don't know, don't do it.
Don't do it.
All right. However, you are able to pull a whole bunch of junk out now, and that can be a big help to a lot of folks. But that, kids, is largely the show. And before we get to our pick of the week segment, I want to remind everybody that our picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and actually used. And we like them enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These aren't any kind of paid advertisements or items that we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy over at iTechGear.org specifically states that we would have to let you know that up front. These are just sincerely things that we believe in, and we bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we like
we
you.
like you.
Thank you. Got to think of something else that's getting kind of old. Anyway, Joel, you
so are we, but I'm bummed.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel, you've got the pick this week. So what's
Goodness.
going on?
Yes. All right. So, we were talking about some of the Pixel watch updates. Not watch update. Well, this week we were talking about that, but I think last week we were talking about the Pixel Watch 2 release. And guess what Joel did when we were on the show last week before I even got off the show? I ordered my pick of the week. It's a watch band for my Pixel Watch. It's the I'm probably gonna butcher how you say it. Coretta compatible. The whole listing is ridiculous, but it's a lot of these listings now. Coretta compatible with Google Pixel Watch Band for women, men, stainless steel mesh loop, adjustable magnetic clasp strap. Replacement for the Google Watch. So essentially what this is, it is a mesh loop strap. I got the black one because I have the black Pixel Watch, and it uses the stock way of doing swappable bands on the Pixel Watch. It should work on Pixel Watch or Pixel Watch 2. I got it for like $7.99 on Amazon. So
can't beat the price. Wow.
I kind of wanted a nicer looking watch band than the standard rubber one because I got a wedding I'm attending next month. So I picked this one. So like I said, just goes right on, just like any Pixel Watch band replacement. It does. You do have to completely undo the band to take it off my wrist because I got a thick, fat wrist. But I've never lost the watch. It's held on with a magnet. All right, so it's never come off my arm. I've not had a problem tracking sleep. I've not had a problem with anything with it. And so far, so good on the watch. I don't know. We'll see how long the anodized black coating on it lasts. But so far I'm pretty happy. And for $8, if I do scratch it, hey, I'll get another one.
You know what? It looks very similar to a watch band that a company I know of in Cupertino, California makes that cost over $100.
Yeah,
of course it does. And I'm sure this doesn't have any exotic metal in it. Yeah. Or Hermes or whatever they call that. But I really can't beat it for $8. And the same company makes some other bands too. They make this one in a rose gold if you're into that. I'm not, but it looks like they may also make a gray version of it too, but I don't see it on the same listing, so it might be on their store. But for $8, can't really beat it. So I'm sure the same company probably makes watch bands for the fruit band for the fruit watch too. So hey, if you're one of those owners, like three of us on this show,
in their store, in their Amazon store, they have a lot of watch bands, pretty ones.
They do, they do. So and that's the great thing with standardizing a connector like they did on the Pixel Watch and Apple Watch and many others have standardized on band. It makes it a lot easier. They just had to figure it out once and then just reproduce it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
And it makes it a lot easier, and it's fairly better than paying what the Google would want for some of their watch bands, or for that
Apple for that matter, any of them.
Yeah.
Or Samsung, or anybody who has their offerings.
Yeah. The name brand offerings always seem to be really stupidly expensive.
Yeah, you do pay a premium for staying with them.
Yep. So not a bad price, and I'm very happy with it. So highly recommend this one.
Nice. Well, that, kids, is the show. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 64. You blockhead. Recorded live Sunday, October 22nd, 2023 for Brother Joel McLaughlin, Mr. Chris Gavula, and Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. This is Christopher Spera saying we will see you next time.